All right. Good evening, everyone. Mike Brenhog here with Retire Happy Planning Guide. And tonight, what we're going to be talking about, there's been a lot, if you've been watching the news, a lot of things happening and taking place. So I'm not going to go through the full-blown typical webinar presentation that we do. I want to dive in and make this a little more interactive and show you some things that are just happening this past week and the impact that it's going to have on your retirement. Now, our whole objective here is number one is to put you 100% in control of your retirement. So if you don't take anything else away from anything that I have to share tonight, just remember that the most important thing that you can do for yourself today when it comes to your retirement is be 100% in control. And so what I mean by that, well, understanding what you have, understanding how taxes play a role into it, understanding Social Security, understanding what income you're going to be able to take from each retirement account. You need to know. It's no longer like some of the old school methods where you could just, invest 10, 20%, just set it and forget it. No, those days are over because there's too many moving parts, right? Too many variables that are outside of your control, which is why being 100% in control is your absolute number one priority. All right. And so that's what I want to share with you tonight. So I'm going to skip through. I'm going to skip through a lot of these pages because I want to share some things with you. But just for those that might be joining in or that watch the recording after this, the reason retirement planning is important. It's a process. It's not just a one and done, set it, forget it. It's not that. This is a process. This is something that is your retirement. What you do today will make a difference when you go to retire, right? And everyone wants to retire happy. I've never met anybody that says, Mike, I do not want to plan to retire happy. I want to plan to live in a van down by the river, right? That doesn't happen. Everybody wants to retire happy. But unfortunately, if you don't put in the proper steps, if you don't take the proper action, you are not going to retire happy. So that's what this is about. This is why planning is so important. All right. But let's just hit a couple of these highlights here that are super important. I'm going to turn on my little spotlight here. So one of the things, if you were to take it, and you've been watching the news, look at average inflation, right? Or you look at the inflation today. Average inflation, if you were to Google it, from 1960 to 2021 is 3.8%. Now it's 9.6%. What does that mean for you in your retirement? Well, that's a huge difference, right? It's a huge difference. We're talking about a 6% difference. Now, some economists believe that it's actually more like 15% because the way they calculate inflation doesn't necessarily incorporate, everything. Now, what else is happening if you've been following the news? Unprecedented spending bills with 80 billion going to the IRS, which 45 billion out of that 80 specifically for enhanced enforcement to hire 87,000 new IRS agents. Now, check this out. Currently, there are about 78,000 full-time equivalent employees at the IRS. That means over the next 10 years, this is a 10-year plan here of what they've put into the bill, if it's passed. What will happen is they're going to hire 87,000 new agents over the next 10 years. Now, I know what you hear in the news because I hear the same thing, and it doesn't matter what channel you're on. They all say, for those making 400,000 or less, your taxes are not going to go up. You're not going to get audited. Well, I'm going to be honest. I'm calling a big fat BS on that. All right. And I'm going to show you why. All right. In a moment. Look here. US debt, $30 trillion. And it's climbing. All right. Inflation is off the charts. I mean, it is absolutely crazy. Look at US median home price at an all-time high. Now we're starting to see a little dip with the interest rates coming up. So prices are starting to drop a little bit, which for some people, that's good news. If you're a real estate investor, and if you have rental property and you were counting on the fact that it's going to remain high, it might not be such good news. Here's some other things. If you experience a 20% loss in the market, you actually need to achieve a 25% gain to restore your loss. Now, the likelihood of that happening over a 10-year period, and this is based on the S&P 500 index over a 40-year period, the likelihood of that happening in a 10-year period is not even 100%. The reason that's important that you need to know that is if you're in a 10 to 15-year window before you retire, you need to understand your losses. You need to understand market risk and the impact that it can have on your retirement income. All right. Trust me, I don't care who you have as a financial advisor, planner, you need to be in control. Use them as a partner in your planning or your retirement planning, but do not rely on them. Okay. We have a team, and even though I have a team of the best, I'm telling you, this is your retirement. You need to be 100% in control. All right. Now, based on historical returns, S&P 500 over the 40 years, a 35% loss will require several years to recover, even a 25% loss. 64% of Americans are not prepared for retirement. Think about that. 64%. And 48%, they simply just don't even care. So what has happened? Well, let me tell you what's happening here. Many states are now implementing for business owners a state mandated retirement program, meaning that if you have 5 or more employees, like I happen to be here in California, as of June 30th this year, 2022, if you have 5 or more employees, you're required to implement a structured retirement plan. Offer your employees something. This is a big problem because small to mid-sized companies oftentimes don't have a structured retirement program that they are offering. So therefore, people do not have access to a retirement plan and they're not contributing, they're not saving. Well, what has happened, that's put a lot of pressure on Social Security. All right. And so it's actually a great thing. I'm not a big fan, honestly, of government implementing a lot of programs because, there's a lot of overreach, but I actually think this is a good one because it is a major problem. People are not saving enough. There's not enough education, which is why, we do this. Now, check this out. Number one reason people file for bankruptcy is due to medical expenses. And 72% of people had some form of medical insurance. Now, if you're self-employed, or even if you're not self-employed, I can tell you healthcare insurance is off the charts expensive. Many companies, one of the things that they have done, they no longer cover the entire family. They'll cover the employee, and maybe not even 100%. They'll cover a percentage of the employee. And then if you want to have your family covered, you have to pay additional. It comes out of your check. That's a very common thing that is happening. Well, healthcare, it's because healthcare has gotten off the charts expensive. Small to mid-sized companies, they simply can't afford it, right? They have to make a profit. So that puts the burden on you. No matter what kind of healthcare insurance you have, even the best of the best PPO, if there's a major medical issue, you're going to come out of pocket for it. Even if you have the maximum out of pocket, that maximum out of pocket, that really doesn't mean it. It doesn't mean that that's truly the max out of pocket. Trust me, because I had a knee replacement last year. And so I can tell you, and I had the best of the best insurance. Well, according to the company, but it's not. All right. Now, almost 1 in 4 American cancer survivors said they struggled to pay medical bills, according to the new CDC report. And 1/3 have worried about their out-of-pocket medical cost. Cancer is a big one, right? Think about it. You have chemotherapy, you have radiation, multiple treatments, and you know what? Your insurance is going to cap out. There's only so much they're going to do. But in addition to that, there are a lot of other things. There's, travel cost. There's, supplemental either home care or dietary needs, or nursing that needs to come in, clothes, because if you've had cancer, you probably lost a lot of weight. And, there's going to be other things. So the out-of-pocket medical cost, cancer is just, it's expensive. All right. And I'm sharing this with you because these are the things that even though you see in the news, that absolutely will wipe out your retirement. It will completely derail you if you do not understand the impact that this has on your retirement and if you don't plan accordingly. All right. Now, check this out. For those of you that might be public employees, majority of states were struggling to satisfy their pension liability requirements before the financial crisis of 2008. Now, with just around 80% of their pension liabilities covered. So where are we at today? Now state pensions are facing even more challenges coming off of COVID. And here's why. All right. If you look at it and you go to the Federal Reserve, they actually have a nice graph and a report that shows the map of the United States in each state and the percentage of liabilities funded. Most states only have about 50 to 60 cents for every dollar of liability that they have. So what does that mean as a public employee? That means if they don't have enough money, that changes are going to come. They're going to have to make changes to the plan. And for public employees, when we go to calculate your or use our retirement snapshot to calculate your retirement, there's usually a date. They want to know the higher date because they've made major changes to the plans at certain dates, right? Because they've had a problem. So big problem, with that. So what can you do? Well, you don't control your pension. You have no control. You don't control where it's invested. You don't control when you can get it. You don't control anything about it. You don't even sit on the board of trustees that determines where those funds are invested in. You have no control. So what can you do? There are other options that you have available that will put you in control. So the first step is creating awareness and knowing that there's a problem there so that you can be in control. Does that make sense? Now, take a look at this. The $350 billion COVID economic plan. Well, obviously we know taxes are going up, but I'll tell you, in addition to that, that new 700 or $800 billion, what do they call it? They're calling it the Inflation Reduction Plan. All right, this year, tax inflation reduction spending bill. Well, I'm going to tell you, if you've ever taken economics, it's not going to reduce inflation. I promise you. It is just a bunch of politicians, and I don't care what side you sit on. Politicians are politicians. They're just in it to get reelected, period. That is it. Okay. This is going to do nothing for you, which is why I'm sharing this with you and just being super honest about it so you can take control. But let's take a look here. Let's talk about taxes for a moment. All right. And I want to share with you the impact of taxes. If you were to take $1 and it's doubling 20 times, right? This is not based on years. You're just doubling it, right? Take $1, you double it. $1, $2, $4, and so forth, right? That's over $1 million. If you were now to apply a 20% reduction, a 20% tax rate, that same $1 million is now $629,000 over the course of the doubling process. 25% tax rate, $524,000. A 33% tax rate is $356,000 that you would accumulate over that time period, right? That is the impact of taxes. Many people overlook the impact of taxes because we all think, well, it's just something we got to do, something we got to pay. Well, there's a reason that states like Nevada, Tennessee, Florida, and Texas, these states that have no state income tax, they're seeing a huge migration of people moving there, is to get away from state income taxes. All right. It's absolutely huge. But this clearly illustrates the impact of taxes. And I'm going to show you a little more here with some actual numbers in a moment. I'm going to exit out of here for a moment. And I want to go over here to the debt clock. All right, when we started doing these webinars last year in November, this was at 28 trillion, just under 28 trillion. Actually, it's in the 27 trillion. Now look at it. Not even a full year later, $30 trillion. The reason I share this with you, the government obviously has a huge spending problem. If they have a huge spending problem, That means they have no other alternative but to kick the can down the road as much as they possibly can, and they continue to do that, which then makes this problem an even bigger problem. But then at some point, they have to raise taxes. They absolutely have to raise taxes. So this is one reason before the spending bill became a problem. So let's come over here. All right. One of the things that I like to share with people is, how does the government make their money? They're not a manufacturer. They're not a business. They don't manufacture a thing. They don't coach, consult. They don't have a service at all, right? So where do they make their money? Well, check this out. What are the sources of revenue for the federal government? Take a look at it. 50% of federal revenue comes from individual income taxes. Now, I know this says 2019, the numbers haven't changed a whole lot, but you get it. I want to illustrate for you, because when you hear these politicians that anybody under 400,000 is not going to pay taxes, they're not going to get audited, it's bullshit. All right. It is going to happen. Look at this. 50% of individual income tax is their primary revenue source. Now, you hear them a lot because they want to make the big corporate companies the bad guys, right? Corporate income tax, right? Here it is. This is in black and white right here. So now let's take a look at this. Let me find one other slide that I want to share with you. When you look at the taxes, and now you look at the fact that they want to add 80 billion to the IRS to hire 87,000 IRS agents. Now imagine you're a fly on the wall, in Congress, right, or in the House, and you're like, hey, let's come up with this great spending plan here, $800 billion. We're going to do all these great things. Well, man, how are we going to pay for that? We're already 30 trillion in debt. And if you look at this debt per taxpayer, 243,000, debt per citizen, 92,000. Check that out. All right. And then look over here in this green section, revenue per citizen on average, 13,000. There's no way they're making that up. And it's like, wow, we'd love to do all these things, but after coming off of COVID, we're kind of tapped out. How do we make up money? I got an idea. Let's allocate out of this 800 billion, let's allocate 80 billion, and let's hire some new IRS agents. Let's do that. Boom, sold, done, approved. And let's collect more revenue from the 50% of our individual income tax payers. That's where we'll get the money to help pay for it. So it's coming. I'm sharing this with you because if you're watching the news, I'm telling you, it is truly a bunch of hogwash. So anyways, ask yourself this question, and please don't believe the politicians. All right. Ask yourself that if they didn't plan to audit you or to tax you more, why are they hiring 87,000 agents? Why? There you go. I think the answer is in the question. So let's take a look here. So that's on taxes, right? So be prepared for taxes, which is why you need to be in control. Now, let's take a look at Social Security. All right. A lot of people ask, is Social Security going to be around? Now, here's my opinion. I think Social Security will be around, and here's why. Again, you have to think about who makes the decisions. You are not in control of your Social Security, not one bit. You don't control what you contribute. You don't control when you can take it. You don't control where it's invested. You don't control a darn thing to your Social Security. Who controls it? The government and the politicians, right? Now, the reason I think it'll continue to be around is because I don't believe there's a politician around that wants to kill Social Security. Think about that for a moment. First of all, hey, we ought to get rid of Social Security. All those people that are on it, let's just kick them off. And new people that have been paying into it, let's just abolish Social Security altogether. One, they will never get elected and they will never get reelected, right? So it ain't happening. So I think for that fact alone, it'll be around. Now, with that being said, there are changes coming. All right. So currently, Social Security, if you're employed, and if you're a public employee, by the way, like CalSTRS out here in California, school teacher, you're not getting Social Security at all because you don't contribute to Social Security. For those of you that contribute to Social Security, you pay 6.2% that comes out of your check. The other 6.2% your employer pays in. So you have a total of 12.4% of every dollar that you earn that is going towards Social Security taxes, payroll taxes, okay? That's how they make their money on that. And you have all these people contributing, and then when you go to retire, and if you're at the retirement age, you can choose anywhere from age 62 to 70 to determine when you want to take it, and they're going to pay you a monthly benefit, all right? And that'll be for the rest of your life once you take it. Now, here's what I want to share with you. Social Security, 2021, 2022. This is directly, look at the website up here. I share this with you because I try and share things directly from the source. There's a ton of stuff on the internet. So whenever you can, go to the internet. If you're researching, go to the source, ssa.gov, Trust Fund Summary, June 2022. This is about as fresh as you can get. And this is not me saying this, okay? This is from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Take a look here, 2021, 2022. Let's just take a look at this. Here's what I want you to look at. Income and outgo in year prior to reporting billions. Now, this is billions of dollars. Total income in 2021, it was 1.118 billion. 2022, 1.088 billion. They took in less. Why did they take in less in 2022? Well, a lot of people in 2020, 2021, COVID, they weren't working, all right? So you had fewer people working, fewer people contributing to Social Security. All right, let's take a look here. Outgo, 1.107. So they were a little better than break even. They made a little more here than what they put out. Well, take a look here. 2022, they didn't bring in as much money, but yet you have those same people that are on the plan, plus you had some new additional people that decided to take Social Security or the Social Security disability insurance, right? So you had the outgoes increased. They actually had a negative of $56 billion, all right? By the way, OASDI, does anybody know what that stands for? It's kind of interesting. Most people look at this as Social Security. Let's scroll up. A lot of people don't know this. This is what they call Social Security, old age and survivors insurance. Old age, right? I don't know. They should probably change that. That seems to be wrong, right? But anyways, let's scroll down here because I want to share some things with you that you can take a look at here. Year of trust fund depletion. Again, this is their report, 2034, 2035. All right. So based on where they're at now, they're projecting that the depletion is going to be 2035. Let's scroll down a little further here. Again, you can go and read all the details here. I'm just trying to highlight some of the things. Here's what I want to highlight for you. Take a look right here. All right. The trustees project that the OASDI, old age insurance benefit, the annual cost will exceed total income throughout the 75-year projection. Now that 75-year projection started, years ago. After the projected trust fund reserve depletion in 2035, continuing income would be sufficient to pay for what? 80% of program cost and declining to 74% in 2096. So what are they telling you right here? Well, you're going to take a 20% haircut. Now, there's already talks about some things that are going to change. Some of the things that they're talking about doing is extending the ideal or the full retirement age according to Social Security. So we're going to push that out. All right. So you won't be able to take it, at 62, let's say. Maybe it's going to be 63 or 64 is the earliest age, and they're going to push that out. Okay. So that's one of the things they're talking about. They're also talking about increasing the Social Security payroll taxes, bumping it up from the 6.2 that you pay and the 6.2 that your employer pays for a total of 12.4, bumping that up to like a 14.4 or something like that. Okay, where each would you would bump it up to 7.2 for you, bump it up a percentage. So those are some of the things they're talking about. The other thing that they're talking about is doing a cut for all current beneficiaries, meaning people currently on Social Security, and those coming into it, they would do a reduction in benefit. So let me ask you this. Fast forward, you're on retirement, and when you're in retirement, you're on a limited fixed income. You no longer have your employer income coming in. And all of a sudden, outside of your control, you have to take a 10, 20% haircut or pay cut. You're already on a limited fixed income. That's not pleasant. You're not going to retire happy that way, right? So one of the other things, so those are some of the things that they're talking about. We don't know, but all I know is Congress, that's something they need to pass. They need to think about it. They need to be talking about, because guess what? 2035 is not too far away. And as you know, our government does not move real fast. Okay. So I know this is probably, a little scary for you, might make you a little mad as it does me. But the only thing you can do, in the point I'm trying to make, is to put yourself in control. What are some things that you can do? All right, so let's take a look here. What else can I share with you? Most asked questions. I pulled this up and this website here. So when you go to ssa.gov, one of the first things that you should do, let me actually go to the home here. See where it says online services? Download your Social Security report. I don't care if you're young and you're new, download it anyways. That way you know how to access it and create a routine that, every couple of years, depending on your age, that you're downloading that report, you're monitoring it, you're looking at it, okay? If you have 10 years of working, which is classified, and let's say with an employer that has contributed to Social Security, then most likely you've already met the minimum eligibility requirements, and it will estimate for you what your Social Security will be when you go to retire. That's an important number to know, especially if you're within a 5 to 10 year window, so you can start doing some planning and you know what you're going to get. Okay. Takes you about 3 to 5 minutes to jump online here and create an account, and that way you have access, and you can check all that out. So that's extremely valuable. Now, let's jump over here to one of the programs that we use for helping you create what I call a retirement snapshot. Now, I have my person pulled up, Jane Doe. She is a school teacher. And what I want to share with you is a gap analysis report. So one of the things that we do is we plug in all the information. We do this for all our clients. And by the way, we don't charge for this, okay? And the reason we don't charge for creating this gap analysis is we are on a mission to help educate people on the importance of taking control of your retirement. Well, the first step in taking control, you got to have a retirement snapshot to see where you're at. Because if you don't know where you're at, if you don't know how your pension or your 401k or your IRA or any other brokerage accounts that you have, or 403b, if you don't know how all that works together, even if you have rental property, then how do you know what your income is going to be? How can you make informed and intelligent decisions about your retirement if you can't see what it looks like altogether? So that's why we do this, right? It's important that you make informed and intelligent decisions, not emotional decisions, because it's easy to make emotional decisions. You think, you get excited about a stock that you see on TV, a Tesla or an Amazon or Apple or something like that, right? The shiny penny stock. But, does that make sense? You want something, and you need to know each investment that you make, how it's going to work for you. You need to know the upside, the downside, the pros, the cons. You need to understand that, which is why we do this. Okay. All right. So with that, we plug everything in. So in this particular plan, Jane Doe, she's on a 401k plan. She makes, $6,000 a month, $72,000 a year. We're just letting the Social Security just calculate it based on some basic parameters we plugged in. And she doesn't have a lot. She has a little Roth IRA that has about 100,000 in it now, and she's contributing $500 a month, which is the maximum that you can put into a Roth IRA if you're under 50. Okay. And then when she has decided that when she retires, she needs to have the equivalent of what she's making today when she goes to retire for income. So she needs 100%. All right. So let's take a look at the calculations here. And we're just going to go to retirement years. And this is what it looks like for her. Her Social Security. Let me plug in the numbers. And I'm going to show you the impact of taxes and inflation here in a moment, so you can actually see it live, what it's looking like. Social Security. All right, let's take a look here. 1,948 is what she's estimated to get. All right, then that's that green section you see right there. Her 401k, she's been contributing to that. She contributes 6%. And take a look at that. Her 401k is going to provide her with about, just under 6,500 for a few short years, and then she's going to run out of money. Her Roth IRA that she's contributing $500 a month to, that's going to start to kick in here when she's age 71, and this is assuming that she's retired at age 65. And that's going to extend her retirement a little longer. And then you can see at about 78, 79, this red bar here indicates a shortfall or a gap in her retirement income. She will have a gap. Now, when you get into your late 70s and your 80s, that is the absolute worst time to experience a shortfall or gap in your retirement. Why is that? Well, couple things happen. You are less likely at that age to want to take on a little side gig or side hustle, right, to make a little extra money. And it's also the point in time where you might start to experience some health issues that will prevent you from doing that. So this is why you need to start taking control today, planning today. But if you just look at a report or a spreadsheet, it's not going to illustrate for you this gap. This is extremely powerful when you can see this gap and you're like, wow, that's not looking pretty, and it doesn't, but there's some things that you can do. So what can you do? Well, minimize your expenses. Right now, Jane said that she needs 100% of what she makes. So over the next few years, between now and the time that she goes to retire, can she minimize some of her expenses? So let's take a look there. All right. What if she's able to minimize her expenses by 20%? All right. You'll see that. That helps, right? That definitely helps. Look at that. Now she's under 83, 84 before she starts to experience a gap. All right. But what are some other things that we can do? Let's take a look at life expectancy. Now, we never want to kill anybody off too early, right? But it's a very real question. You have to know, and you're not going to know with certainty, but you have to answer this question and you have to plan for it. How long are people living in your family? How long are they living? They living to 95, they living to 100, they living to 90, because you can see that's going to make a difference. I can tell a lot of people will tell me 88 or 90 seems to be very common. Now, that's starting to look a little better, right? But this is a number on life expectancy that honestly, you don't want to, if you're just guessing, you don't want to guess on the shorter side, so to speak, right? Like, 85, because it's like, oh, I'm going to be good. Well, and all of a sudden, because of health or because of technology, and now you're living to 90, makes a huge difference. And you're like, uh-oh, I got a little bit of gap in my retirement here. How am I going to survive, right? And again, we don't know what Social Security is going to do, okay? So this is why this is extremely important. Now, what else can we do? I'm going to leave the life expectancy at 90. Let's come over to general. I have an average tax rate of 20% that I've plugged in. All right. Taxes may go up. Take a look at this. Watch this over here as I modify this or change this. Just 5%. Oh, 5%. That's 5%. If your taxes go up just 5%, look what that does. Okay. Want to see that again? 20%. Look at that. Huge impact that it has. All right. Now, what if taxes go up a little more? 28%. What if they go up to 30%? And again, we don't know. But what I love about this tool is it allows you to play with it. And this is, we can have meaningful conversations with clients. What if? And what you want to do is kind of plan for the worst and hope for the best, right? Inflation. It's been 3.8 historically. Right now it's 9.6. I've been plugging in 5%, and who knows, right? What if it goes up a little higher? What does that do? Look at that. Okay. So you can see the impact that taxes and inflation can have on your income. All right. Let's see, what else can I share with you here? And then we haven't even gotten into the rate of return based on your investments. That's a whole nother deal. But I hope you can see the importance of understanding and taking control of your retirement. And so when we take a look at our national debt, when we take a look at everything that is happening today in the news about this spending plan, which you have no control over, right? You didn't get to vote on it. You didn't get to vote on that spending plan. And it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're, believe or sit on or registered. You didn't vote on this specific plan. It's outside of your control. But all I can tell you, 50% of the IRS revenue, the government revenue, comes from individual income tax. There's a reason they're hiring 87,000 agents. They don't need 87,000 agents to go after the corporate. They don't need 87,000, but they do need 87,000 to go after, the millions of people that are the individual taxpayers. All right. Let's see. So I want to open it up. I know we got a very light crowd tonight, but I want to open it up. If you guys have any questions, comments, please use that chat box. Happy to share it with you. While you're going to post your comments, one of the things I'll share with you as well is if you're interested in having a retirement snapshot completed for you like this, it's a confidential one-on-one session with myself or one of my financial professionals. We're happy to do so. It's complimentary to you. And again, our whole deal is we want to provide you with the tools and a retirement snapshot to put you in control so you can retire happy. If you have not discovered our Retire Happy website, go to retirehappyguide.com. You can download this book. The book is designed just to create awareness. There's been so much going on that I now need to update it again after we just updated it to the first of the year. So there's a reason it's an ebook. An ebook is easy to update, right? But I also want to invite you over. We're just launching our Retire Happy YouTube channel. You're going to see a lot more content, a lot more video content. So definitely go out there and like and subscribe and share it with your friends and colleagues and help us get the word out about the importance of planning and taking 100% control of your retirement. Once you have the snapshot completed, then we can have a meaningful discussion on how do we solve this problem, right? Because there are solutions. When you look at your pension, a 401k, a Roth IRA, let's look at what I call the traditional retirement accounts. Those are good, gets you started, but there are also, some cons to those accounts as well, right? One, most of them are tax deferred, meaning your money that you contribute to it right now is tax deferred. It's pre-tax, and they're deferring the taxes. They're kicking the can down the road to when you go retire. Well, I can tell you what's happening is, taxes are on the rise. So there's a lot of folks now that are getting set to retire that are doing a conversion. They're saying, hey, I want to pay my taxes now on this, while we're at pretty much a pretty low tax base, honestly, so that I don't have to pay it in the future. Those are some discussions that you can have with a financial professional once you have something like this completed, right? Where you can see what it looks like and make those kind of decisions. There are other tools in place that many financial professionals don't talk about. One, if you're getting set to retire and you want to lock in what you have and you want to generate a lifetime income, a fixed indexed annuity might be an option for you. But again, working with your financial professional, you need to see what you have, how everything works together before you can kind of make that decision, right? It's not the holy grail. It's a great, additional product to have, but it doesn't make sense for you. We don't know that till we take a look at it. And then the other is what we call an IUL, Indexed Universal Life. That is a product that in the index, it sits on a life insurance chassis, okay? And what's kind of cool about it is, one, the way it's structured is the money goes in after tax. So you're basically, have this IUL, it's after tax dollars, but when you go to retire or you decide that you want to take withdrawals from it, they come out in the form of a loan. And according to the IRS tax code 7702, it's tax-free. All right. Having a tax-free type of account to supplement what you have is not a bad strategy. Okay. Because most of what people are going to have, if you're currently funding everything with pre-tax dollars, you're going to be paying taxes on that. And again, let's take a look at that taxes. Remember, if you come over here in the tax rate, boy, that's a huge savings if you can have a tax-free retirement account. So that's extremely valuable. And there's some other benefits, zero market risk, like with a fixed indexed annuity as well. But those are the products that you might not be familiar with. But once we have this, then we can have an intelligent conversation to see if those product solutions might be a great plan for your retirement portfolio. So anyways, I'm going to wrap it up from there. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to go to this Retire Happy Guide website. You can schedule an appointment. Just click on schedule an appointment. And here's our calendar here. You can select a time and a date and a time, schedule time with this, confidential and complimentary. And we'll start there. And and we'll take it one step at a time. All right. So with that, I'm going to sign off. Hope you guys have a great evening, and thanks for joining us. Have an awesome day. Take care.